morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, it is about time to show you the top 10 cards from Single Strike and Rapid Strike Master. Remember, this was a double set over in Japan. It is largely just going to be translated over here and brought as battle styles. There's probably going to be a few differences here and there, but it really does seem more so than in recent sets. We are just going to essentially be getting Single Strike and Rapid Strike Master as just the set over here, which is really kind of cool. So, with that borne in mind, we should probably have a little bit of a look at the top 10 cards. And I'm going to tell you something right off the bat here, yeah? It's a really good set. There's a big set over in Japan. It is a big set, 140 cards plus secret rares, but there were a lot of very good cards that I just couldn't put on the list because there were just too many, like, genuinely, awesomely, really good cards. So if there is a card missing from here that you thought should be on there, please don't be offended. It almost certainly got cut just because there wasn't enough space. So, Empoleon, got an ability that turns off the abilities of basic Pokemon that don't have a rule box, including absolute staples like Jirachi and Oranguru and Galarian Zigzagoon. Really good card. Did not make the list. I don't think it's going to see enough play to warrant putting it on the list. Similarly, Mean Shao, my favourite card from the set. I think it's my actual favourite card from the set. Love that card. 90 damage plus confusion for 2 energy, although as we're going to see, we can pay it in 1 energy. I think it's absolutely brilliant. It goes back into your deck. You can pop a Lily's Pokédoll active. It seems like a really fun deck. It is my favourite card from the set, and yet I cannot justify putting it on the top 10 list. Tower of Water, which reduces the retreat cost of Rapid Strike Pokemon by 2 colourless energy, which as it stands at the moment means they all get free retreat. Didn't make the list. And Tower of Darkness that lets you discard any Single Strike card from your hand so that you can then draw 2 cards, which again is a ridiculous card. Also did not make the list. That's how good this has ended up being as a bit of a set. So what did make the list? Well, in at number 10, we have got Houndoom and Octillery. And I'm cheating a little bit here because, like I say, big set, lots of good cards. Houndoom has got an ability which lets you search for a Single Strike energy and put it on one of your Pokemon, although you do have to put 2 damage counters onto them. But Single Strike energy lets you do an extra 20 damage with your attacks, and you are accelerating it from the deck, so I feel very confident that Rapid Strike decks are going to play Houndoom. It is a Stage 1 Pokemon that not only accelerates energy, but also adds extra damage as you do so. This has so much potential. For Octillery, what we've got is a Pokemon that will search out any Rapid Strike card, although it is one of those that is limited to once during your turn, even if you've got multiple Octillery on the field. But it can search out a Rapid Strike energy, or support a card, or Pokemon, or whatever you like, and again, I see this as an absolute slam dunk staple in every Rapid Strike deck. So for that reason, I really do think we've got to put these 2 joint at number 10. I can't really pick between them. I see them as really good Stage 1 support Pokemon that are going to be staples in the appropriate Rapid Strike or Single Strike deck. And for that reason, they come in joint at number 10. In at number 9, we've got Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX. Single Strike I don't hate, but it did not manage to make its way onto the list. And it's not about the Pokemon V here, it is all about the Pokemon VMAX. Do remember the amazing special art we've got coming. For 1 energy, you do 30 damage, but if you became active this turn, you do 150. Which is clearly ridiculous. That is enough to get a 1-hit KO on an Eternatus V, or a Pikachu and Zekrom, and it's only 20 damage away, time you build in weakness, from getting an Eternatus VMAX. It is crazy high for a single energy. And we've seen Pokemon in the past like Golisopod that needed to get in and out of the active, and they did that just fine. Except this does more damage than Golisopod and hits the best weakness in the game. You better believe people are going to love this as a single energy attack. If you then add 2 more energy and discard them all, you do 120 to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon, which can, it's already doing enough in the active to knock out a Pikachu and Zekrom, an Eternatus V, a Crobat V, etc. And you're also then doing 120 to the bench, hopefully finishing off a Pokemon or getting a KO on a support Pokemon. And this seems like it's going to be a deck. And it's going to be a really gosh darn good deck because both those attacks are awesome. In at number 8, we've got the combination of GOLBAT and CROBAT. Now, these are a pair of cards that you really cannot split up. And essentially, when you evolve into CROBAT, you draw 3 cards, which incidentally is exactly the same as the Manectric from Darkness Ablaze, Vivid Voltage, but as a stage 2. But when you evolve into GOLBAT, you draw 2 cards, which is a whole bunch of difference. Then, of course, if you play a Scoop Up Net, you can hopefully then evolve a bench Zubat, draw 2 cards, evolve a bench GOLBAT, draw 3 cards, and that Scoop Up Net turns into a draw 5 cards. And I know not everybody agrees with me on this one, and that's fine. Maybe it being a stage 2 is too awkward. Maybe you don't have the deck space. Maybe you don't have the bench space, etc. But as a single prize Pokemon draw engine, this is amazing, and I believe we're going to see it in a whole bunch of decks. In at number 7, we've got Bruno and Korrina's Motivation. These are the 2 new draw cards from the set, and I see them pretty much hand in hand with each other. They are both really good new draw cards. They are both going to see a bunch of play, and I don't think I can pick between them, which is why I have to join them up. Korrina's Motivation is just a reprint of Bianca. You draw until you've got 6 cards in your hand. Lily did exactly the same thing, but remember on your first turn, Lily let you draw until you had 8. But Bianca saw a bunch of play, and Lily saw a bunch of play, and if you're playing a kind of deck that aims to lower its hand size, and you don't want to have to discard everything with Professor's Research, and you don't have to shuffle everything back into your deck with Marnie, this is a supporter card for you, and given that when we saw it before it saw a bunch of play, I feel confident that it will here. Bruno is another card that we've seen before. It's Cynthia's Feelings, although ever so slightly worse. You shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 4 cards, but if you had a Pokemon KO during your opponent's last turn, you draw 7 cards instead. Cynthia's Feelings let you draw 8, so it is a slightly worse version. But again, Cynthia's Feelings saw a bunch of play, and this is a really good draw card, so I think it will see a bunch of play again. The popular counter-argument I've seen is, well, Rosa works after you had a Pokemon KO'd, and that lets you get a Pokemon, an energy, and a trainer. But this is 7 random cards, and you might need more than 1 Pokemon, more than 1 energy, etc. There are going to be plenty of decks that want this over Rosa. And if that doesn't convince you, Rosa's rotating out in like 6 months' time, 7 months' time. And this isn't. So there we go. In at number 7, we've got Mustard. And I'm afraid we are again pairing cards up here. There are a lot of what I see as pairs of cards here. But these really are a proper pair. We've got Mustard Rapid Strike stance, and we've got Mustard Single Strike stance. And they are very, very much like cards like Archie's Hidden Ball Trick. You can only play them if they're the only card left in your hand, and they get you a Pokemon onto the bench, and you draw 5 cards. Single Strike Mustard, it is a single strike Pokemon from the deck, which is different to how these cards have worked in the past. And Rapid Strike Mustard, it is a Rapid Strike Pokemon from the discard pile, similar to how we've seen before. But your Rapid Strike Mustard can go and get you an Octillery, which will then every turn search something out. Your Rapid Strike Mustard could get you a Stage 2 Emboar, which will then let you do an extra 30 damage on all your attacks for the rest of the game. And you're searching it out the deck and you don't need to play the rest of the evolution line. And again, if we're playing single and rapid strike decks, I don't see why these two don't see a whole bunch of play. I feel very confident that they will. In at number 5, we've got single strike and rapid strike energy. And I promise this is the last time I'm going to combine two cards in one spot for the rest of the video. Yay! And again, you can't really separate single strike and rapid strike energy. It wouldn't really be fair. You see, single strike energy says it can only be attached to a single strike Pokemon, and then all their attacks do an extra 20 damage. Though please remember, it only counts as fighting or darkness energy. I've made that mistake once. I'm really trying to make sure I don't do it again. So, if you're playing any single strike deck, this is like the old strong energy that everybody played, because it does more damage, and doing more damage is always good. So this should be an absolute slam dunk staple in every single strike deck. But then you get to rapid strike energy, and rapid strike energy doesn't do anything, but it does count as 2 energy. Though again, it is only water and fighting, not any others. I've made that mistake, but again, we'll try and make sure it's the only time. And again, this is only for rapid strike Pokemon. So if you're playing a rapid strike deck, clearly you're going to want to play this. This is what makes my Mean Chow theory actually work here. So essentially, if you're playing a single strike deck, you'd be silly not to play single strike energy. And if you're playing a rapid strike deck, you'd be silly not to play rapid strike energy. And these are actually the highest of the tricks for single and rapid strike, because honestly, they are better and more impactful than the other ones we've seen in the video so far. In at number 4, my second favourite card from the set, the one that actually made the list, it's Victini VMAX. And I am talking about the VMAX, not the V here. If you want Victini V, you want to be playing the one from Sword and Shield. It's better, and I like Victini VMAX so much that when I saw it, I did stop making videos for 5 minutes to go and buy a playset of the Victini from Sword and Shield. Victini VMAX has got 1 attack, but it's an absolute beauty. Okay, to be fair, it's got 2. Weirdly, the first attack is exactly the same as the first attack on the Victini V from Sword and Shield. Attach up to 3 energy fire from your discard to your Pokemon in any way you like, but if you're using this on the VMAX rather than the V, we've got a problem. The only attack you should be using is 2 energy, 100 damage, but if you're against a Pokemon V, you do 220. And it's 2 energy, so it's a welder. And essentially here, what we've got is a Pokemon that will essentially KO any Pokemon V for 2 energy. There are a couple of rare examples that you don't need to worry about too much, and yes, I know Zamazenta, immune to VMAXs, but remember a supporter card that did not make the list, although it was on the shortlist, Phoebe just lets you hit through any effects on VMAXs, so that will let you get a KO. So yeah, 2 energy, KO Pokemon Vs. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. There are so many Pokemon Vs seeing a bunch of play right now, and you welder onto this and get a KO on any of them? Yeah, that seems like something which is going to be an absolute powerhouse. Easily my pick for best VMAX in the set, and I like Rapid Strike Urshifu, but I like Victini a lot more. In at number 3, we've got Flapple V, not the VMAX. The VMAX is fine, but the VMAX doesn't make it on the top 10 list. This really is Flapple V. And the great thing about Flapple V is the attack for a single energy that lets you do 20 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon's attacks cost 2 colourless energy more. And I am fully aware that a lot of decks right now are playing Force Switch, so they'll be able to get out of it. If they switch and come active again, they're fine. But I'm also fully aware that they're only playing Force Switch, and they're not always going to have all 4 Switch, and they're not always going to have one when they need it. So this is going to work. In the early game, this is great for buying you time. Stop your opponent attacking for a turn or 2 while you set up. But the reason I love this enough to put it in the top 3 cards of the entire set is because in the late game, this will win you games. It's 1 energy, so play it with something like an Aurora energy. If your opponent is out of switching cards, and in the late game that will often happen, and they are low on energy, which in the late game will often happen, this wins. This literally wins you the game. I have been in hundreds of games over the years where my opponent has won the game using their final energy card. When we were doing the Professor Cup 2 a little while ago, I was lucky enough to be on the commentary team for that. And we saw players win with their final energy, and we saw players lose because they ran out of energy. Flapple basically says, if you're out of switching cards and you've got just enough energy to win, you now lose the game. You can't retreat, retreating gives up energy. You can't switch, you're out of switching cards. And remember, a lot of online tournaments now have open deck lists. You know how many switch and energy your opponent's playing, although a lot of people use standard deck lists, so you can usually predict it quite well. Make no mistake about it, Flapple V is going to win games, and this might be one of these ones I'm hilariously wrong on, but I feel really good about this. In at number 2, we've got Stoutland V. And weirdly, this is another one I've seen some pushback on. And whereas I can imagine being wrong about Flapple, I can't really imagine being wrong about Stoutland. Stoutland looks too good. The attack that's relevant here, 3 energy, 40 damage, but if you KO a basic Pokemon, you take an extra prize. Well, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. Because remember, we got Powerful Colourless Energy and we've got Vitality Band, and with those 2 cards, you're now hitting 70 damage, and there are so many Pokemon, ones I mentioned earlier, like Jirachi, like Galarian Zigzagoon. They will be KO'd here for 2 prizes. Not to mention you can use your own Galarian Zigzagoon to poke stuff into range. Not to mention evolving basics will pretty much all fall under this. Then we've got entire decks like Mad Party where pretty much every Pokemon in the deck will be KO'd for 2 prizes here. And we are talking about a Pokemon that could absolutely shut entire decks down, swing matchups super early. It's free colourless energy, so use Twin Energy or use Welder or use any energy acceleration at all, and you'll be absolutely fine here. This is the kind of card which is going to swing games, and being a basic Pokemon that attacks for colourless energy, it can go into any deck whatsoever. No, it's not as oppressive as Arceus and Dialga and Palkia, obviously, because that lets all of your Pokemon take an extra prize for the rest of the game. But when in the past we've seen Pokemon like Articuno see a whole bunch of play because they can take extra prizes, and Lugia was a top deck because it would take extra prizes, you cannot tell me that this isn't going to see play because it can take extra prizes. I feel very confident it will. But as far as I'm concerned, the number 1 card in the set, and I feel really good about this one, is the card that I expect to see the most play. It's KRICKETUNE V. KRICKETUNE V has got, and no one cares about the attack, right? The attack is terrible and no one's ever going to use it. But KRICKETUNE V's got an ability that lets you draw until you've got 3 cards in your hand. It is the old Oranguru that saw a huge amount of play. Now, 2 differences. Firstly, if you're active, you draw until you've got 4 cards in your hand. Better. But secondly, like things like CROBAT, it is limited to once during your turn, regardless of how many KRICKETUNE you've actually got out on the field. And bearing in mind how much play something like Oricorio sees, why would this not see a huge amount of play? I expect this to be played in a whole bunch of different decks. I expect this to see a huge amount of play. I expect this to be one of the top cards in the format, and I feel confident calling it the number 1 card in the set. So there we go. That's my top 10. I feel good about my top 10 this time round, and I know there's plenty I might end up being wrong about, but I have spent a lot of time looking at this set, and I'll tell you what, I feel good. As a quick side note before we finish, Level Ball was a reprint, so I've not counted Level Ball in my top 10. If you do count Level Ball, that would be a strong contender for number 1, but I've left it out because it's a reprint. I'll leave it up to you to decide whether that was fair. But you can talk about that and anything else you want to talk about from this set in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.